I just be wanting to check the temperature.
Check the temp. I feel you. Scared to go to church. You know what I'm talking about?
You know what I'm talking about?
Backslide. Yeah.
What happened? Taking the test.
Come on in, ushers, we need your assistance. Ushers, we need your assistance. Ushers, we need your assistance. Will you come? Will you come? Will you come?
What you think, hey, in your professional opinion? Maybe just a half. Hey, Monica, maybe just a half.
Right.
All right, y'all ready? We ain't gonna do the prayer.
There we go, pray. We're gonna
You can't even say in like you say You gotta be from like the 50s. You gotta say in like that. All right, y'all ready? All minds clear?
Indeed.
All minds no fear? This is Deuteronomy or Devarim chapter 6 and verse 4. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah our Elohim, Yahuwah is one. Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael.
Yahuwah Eloheinu.
Yahuwah Eloheinu.
Yahuwah Echad.
Yahuwah Echad.
This is Exodus or Shavuot, chapter 20, beginning at verse 3. We will have no other mighty ones.
We will have no other mighty ones.
Against the Most High.
Against the Most High.
We will not make any carved image.
We will not make any carved image.
Or any likeness.
Or any likeness.
Of that which is in Shamayim above.
Of that which is in Shamayim above.
Or which is in the earth beneath.
Or which is in the earth beneath.
Or which is in the waters under the earth.
Or which is in the waters under the earth.
We will not bow down to them.
We will not bow down to them.
Nor serve them.
Nor serve
For
them.
Yahuwah
For Yahuwah
is a jealous
is
heir,
a jealous heir.
visiting the wickedness
Visiting the
of the
wickedness
fathers on the children,
of the fathers on the
to
children.
the third and fourth generation
To the third and fourth generation.
of those that hate him,
Of those that hate him.
and showing kindness
Showing
to
kindness.
thousands of those
To thousands of those
who love him
who love him
and keep his commandments.
and keep his commandments.
We will not bring the name
We will not bring the
of
name
Yahuwah
of Yahuwah
to to nothing.
To nothing.
For Yahuwah
For Yahuwah
will not leave us unpunished.
will not leave us unpunished.
Who brings his name to
Who
nothing.
brings his name to nothing.
We will remember the Shabbat
We
day
will remember the Shabbat
to
day.
keep it Kodesh.
To keep it Kodesh.
6 days we will labor
6 days we will
and
labor
do all our work.
and do all our
But
work.
the seventh day
But the seventh day
is the Shabbat.
is the Shabbat.
Yahuwah
Yahuwah
For in 6 days
For in 6 days
Yahuwah made Shamayim
Yahuwah made Shamayim
and the earth
and the earth
and the sea
and the sea
and all that is in
and
them,
all that is in them.
and rested the seventh day.
And the rest is the seventh day.
Therefore Yahuwah barak the Shabbat day.
Therefore Yahuwah brought the Shabbat day.
We will respect our
We
fathers
respect our fathers
and our mothers,
and our
so
mothers.
that our days are long
And our days are long
upon the earth.
upon the earth.
We will not murder.
We will not
We
murder.
will not commit
We
adultery.
will not commit adultery.
We will not steal.
We will not steal.
We will not bear false
We
witness
will not bear false witness
against our neighbor.
against our neighbor.
We will not covet
We will not covet
anything
anything
that is our neighbor.
that is our neighbor's.
Father God, we give thanks for this day, Father. We give thanks for the Shabbat. We thank you for endowing us, Father, with the spirit, without the spirit of fear, Father, but giving us the power and love and a sound mind, Father. We pray and ask, Father, that you would protect us against any danger, seen and unseen, Father, that you would give us the knowledge and understanding and wisdom to operate, Father, with your Ruach, Father. Father, we pray for each and every soul that is watching the live stream, that you would keep them safe as well as keep us safe, Father. That you would allow your Ruach to be with us on this day, Father. Your word says when 2 or 3 are gathered, that you will be in the midst, Father. And we pray and ask, Father, that you would be in the midst on this day, Father. Allow your Ruach to preside right now, Father. We pray that you would give utterance unto the speaker and understanding unto the hearer, so that we all may be doers of your word, Father. All these things we pray and we give thanks. Bashem Yehovah, Bekai Yehoshua, Hamashiach, Barak HaKodesh. So be it.
So be it.
Hallelujah.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Israel. Hallelujah.
How y'all feeling today? Scared?
We ain't never scared.
Not a going across the concert. But we is at war though. We is at war though.
Come on, come on. Yes, come on. Hey. I call you Thank you. Do the choir up in here. Do the choir, y'all. Do the choir. We just gonna keep it going. Come on, Sister Laura. We just gonna keep it going around here. remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of God. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of God. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of God. I will remain confident in this. I will see the goodness of
Hallelujah.
gotta keep it going. Oh, yeah. Why not, right? That's the word. Today is the day
going through some things this week. I know y'all been going through some things this week. That's what today is for. Let it all go. Cast your burdens. Let them go. Let them go. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Sister Dre, over here by the door. Expect your pain to be gone today. Expect your pain to be gone today. Expect that pain to be gone today. This is the atmosphere that the Most High dwells in. This is the atmosphere for your healing. Hallelujah. Let the world go crazy. We going crazy for you out here. Hallelujah. Yeah. What song you making up? Hey!
One more time.
Alright, now, beat.
Come on now. These boys get a record deal. Who are ENT?
after this, what we gotta do? We gotta let the National Guard hear us. I heard they was in town. You ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Y'all scared? No. Let's get some word in. I appreciate y'all praise team. Everybody give a round of applause for the praise team. You know what I'm saying? Hallelujah. That boy B said,
Like McAfee. That boy was like this. That boy was like this.
While they setting up, y'all. Y'all covers Israel. 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 Oh, y'all covers Israel. Getting ready. Hear me say, y'all cover Israel. Y'all cover Israel. Y'all cover Israel. I hear you out. Y'all cover Israel. Y'all cover Israel. Y'all cover Israel. Y'all cover Israel. Y'all just witnessed y'all giving us a song. I didn't know that. Y'all did that. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Can we get some more Mayim to the front? Pretty please. Mayim. Anybody know what Mayim mean by now? We say it every week. Water. Hey man, they be talking about Mayim. What is that? I feel like the holocaust. You feel like the highway good? What that mean? This right here. It's perfect. Oh, the picture. That's yours? You bought something you don't know what it means? No, what it means. I just can't find it. I probably wouldn't have bought it. You know what I'm saying? My brother told me that. right. I trust my brother. You know what I'm saying? All right, y'all. Can we get the other mic over here too? And yeah, hold on 1 second. You on cordless? Yeah. Appreciate you. I know all the time. We gotta figure out. So it's probably the cord, I believe.
right, Brother Nate got something he want to say.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
I just give honor and esteem to the Most High Yahuwah for His goodness. Just thinking back, about a year ago today, I walked through those front doors.
It's your anniversary.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. We're anniversary today. The first time I ever seen the Chosen see anniversary. We gonna do it up for you today.
I just think of, because, I was searching, I was looking, and yes, I found it. I mean, I came through Johnny was on the drums, Dr. Blade was on the bass, and they were singing, and he was like, Yahuwah. I said, all right, that's one check. Praise and worship was going on. It was awesome. The praise and worship was awesome. The word was awesome. Everybody it was just what I wanted. So I saw my people. It was just awesome, and I've learned so much. Yahuwah has been working on me all year. Even coming from a little leaven, was talking about, and pride, and so much other things that I've learned. I'm just thinking for my family here, it's always been something that's been different, but show to see that we have something that a lot of people really don't have, and we should really cherish it. I think because the president of Yah is here. Knowledge of God is here, His wisdom is here, His love is here. If we have it, and we have something we have to cherish, and spread this out to the world. And I just thank and praise y'all again for my family that's here, because I truly believe it's family. It's nothing I've had to experience before, and I just thank Him for that, and I'm looking forward to more learning more, and going deeper in the knowledge and wisdom of Yahuwah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Be grateful for you too,
Indeed.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
How we feeling today?
Bless.
Nice day outside. Nice day to be worshiping the Most High. Right? All right. So today, I wanted to talk about Israel, go into a little bit of history, and show the demise of Israel and how they became as a removed woman. Okay. All right. So, and I'm gonna go into the law and show that. Let's open up with Ezekiel 36 and 16. Read down to 17.
Ezekiel chapter 36 and verse 16. Moreover, the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land.
Right here, now he's saying this because at the time of Ezekiel is a prophet, but they're in captivity right now. All right, so go ahead.
They defiled it by their own way, and by their doings. Their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman.
The uncleanness of a removed woman. So that word removed woman is H5079. And it's referencing a woman in her uncleanness, like a menstruous woman, right? All right, so how was a menstruous woman supposed to be treated? Separated, right? So we're going to go into the law and see. Leviticus 15 and verse 19.
Leviticus chapter 15 and verse 19. Y'all get there, say hallelujah. It says, and if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever touch her shall be unclean until the evening.
Right. So you see that this woman is supposed to be separated once she's deemed unclean. Right. Keep reading.
And whosoever touch her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe his.
Skip
I'm sorry, verse 20. And everything that she lie upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sit upon shall be unclean. And whosoever touch her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening. And whosoever touch anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening. If it be on her bed, or on anything whereon she sit, when he touch it, he shall be unclean until the evening.
So we get it that a menstruous woman was supposed to be separated, and anybody that touched her, anything that she sat on, was supposed to be unclean, and they were supposed to bathe themselves and be unclean until the evening, right? All right. So now, how did Yahuwah view Israel? As when they became a nation, how did he view Israel? As his wife. As his wife, right? So let's see, Jeremiah 3:14.
When y'all get there, say hallelujah. This is Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 14. Turn, O backsliding children, saith Yahuwah, for I am married unto you.
I am married unto you. Go ahead.
And I will take you one of a city, and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion.
Slide down to verse 20.
Verse 20. Surely as a wife treacherously depart from her husband, so have you dealt treacherously with me.
So see how he's comparing a woman that separates from her husband. So showing you that he views Israel as his wife. But right now he's scolding Israel because they're going off and breaking all his commandments, right? So here's the thing. Now, how did Israel actually become his wife? Right? But even before that, what happened? Anybody say that again? There you go. So that's where we're going to go. So Genesis 12. That's a promise he made to Abram, right? Genesis 12:1. I'm sorry.
Genesis chapter 12 and verse 1. Now Yahuwah had said unto Abram, get you out of the country, and from your kindred, and from your father's house, unto a land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will increase you, and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing.
So right here is when he's first taking on Israel or Abram's seed at the time as his own, all right, and as his wife, right? It's almost like when you examine this, you know how people make arranged marriages, right? And so, because Israel didn't become a nation until centuries later. And so, the family, usually in an arranged marriage, two families come together, one have a son, the other has a daughter. And what happens is you'll see them make a pact that once they get older, that those two will get married. And usually the kids don't even have a say-so in it. All right? That's what's going on right here. All right? Go to Genesis 13 and 12.
Genesis chapter 13 and verse 12. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the city of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before Yahuwah exceedingly. And Yahuwah said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up now your eyes, and from the place where you are northward, and southward, and eastward, and westward.
So he's showing Abram the landscape of the land of Canaan, right? Go ahead.
For all the land which you see, to you will I give it, and to your seed forever. And I will make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall your seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it, and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto you. Then Abram removed his tent, and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto Yahuwah.
Okay. Go to Genesis 15 and verse 13.
Genesis 15, verse 13. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance, and you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
So him further going into that arrangement, all right, of course it's not fulfilled here yet, but he's constantly putting in Abram's mind, like, I am going to take on your seed and I'm going to marry them and they're going to become my wife, right? So go to Genesis 22:2.
Genesis chapter 22 and verse 2. And he said, take now your son, your only son Isaac.
Now, we know that Abram also had a son by Hagar, Ishmael, but the Most High did not honor him as his son, right? That's according to this right here. Keep reading when you're ready.
And he said, take now your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and get you unto the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains, which I will tell you of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and he saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place which the Most High had told him. Then on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, abide you here with the donkey, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you.
Hold on, slide down to verse 9.
Verse 9. And they came to the place which the Most High had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood.
So this is Abraham showing his faith, and he didn't flinch. He took his son straight to Moriah to offer his son up when the Most High asked him to. Right? Let's keep reading.
And Abraham stretched out forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the messenger of Yahuwah called unto him out of Shamaim, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here am I. And he said, lay not your hand upon the lad, neither do you anything unto him. For now I know that you fear Elohim, saying you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me.
So that was an act of faith, and the Most High honored this. All right? Verse 13.
And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son.
Right, slide down to verse 16.
Verse 16. And said, by myself have I sworn.
By myself have I sworn. The Most High is so holy, he can swear by himself. Right?
Saith Yahuwah, for because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your only son.
Your only son. Remember, he keeps saying your only son, showing you that Ishmael, he know that Abraham had him out of flesh just because he was desperate to have a son. And then, out of lack of patience as well. But his only son was Isaac. Right? Go ahead.
That in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of Shamaim, and the sand which is upon the seashore. And your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be increased, because you have obeyed my voice.
Because you have obeyed my voice. Exodus 1:1. All right. So this promise here between Abraham and the Most High, again, is like an arranged marriage. And you're going to see in Exodus how that when the children of Israel starts going through their bondage and they start getting oppressed by the enemy, you hear the Most High, he looks down and he hears Israel and their oppression and they crying to the Most High. And so now it's time for him to fulfill that promise. All right, so go ahead. Hold on, let me get that. Yeah. All right, Exodus 1 and verse 1. Read down to 7.
Exodus 1:1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Yehuda, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. But Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them.
This is them becoming a nation, right? Go to Exodus 2 and verse 23.
Exodus chapter 2 and verse 23. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage.
So the bondage was so hard, they sighed. And this king that initially started oppressing them, now he's gone and he's passed away. Go ahead.
And they cried, and their cry came upon the Most High by reason of the bondage. And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob.
Right? So he remembered the covenant. So now it's time for him to bring out his wife from amongst Egypt and to teach her his laws. Read verse 25.
And the Most High looked upon the children of Israel, and the Most High had respect unto them.
The Most High had respect unto them. So now, this marriage, this covenant that the Most High makes with Israel, it's like a marriage contract. What is this contract consist of? Okay, but he gave them something. Like what are the elements of this contract? Law. What else? Yeah. Blessings, curses, prophecy, right? All right, so let's go. Say that again. Right, yeah, the laws, yeah. Yep, so Deuteronomy 4.
Somebody over there, side teacher.
Deuteronomy 4 and verse 1.
Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 1. Now therefore listen, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that you may live, and go in and possess the land which Yahuwah your Elohim, of your fathers give you. You shall not add to the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish aught from it, that you may keep the commandments of Yahuwah your Elohim, which I command you. Your eyes have seen that what Yahuwah did because of Baal Peor.
Right, so he's starting to remind him of things that Israel did or Israel went through, and now he's also showing them that, hey, I've been there the whole time since I brought you out of Egypt. All right, and he's even bringing up this instance with Baal Peor. Go ahead.
For all the men that follow Baal Peor, Yahuwah your Elohim hath destroyed them from among you. But you that did cleave unto Yahuwah your Elohim are alive, every one of you, this day. Behold, I taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahuwah my Elohim commanded me, that you should do so in the land when you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
All right, go to Deuteronomy 28.
Most famous chapter in the Hebrew community.
Trust me, I won't take it out of context. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I won't take it out of context. Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 1.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if you shall listen diligently unto the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command you this day, that Yahuwah your Elohim will set you on high above all nations of the earth.
So he's telling the children of Israel here that if you remain obedient to me, that I'll set you on high. You will be the lead nation. All right, go to verse 3.
Verse 3. Increased shall you be in the city, and increased shall you be in the field.
Now these are some of the blessings we're going into, right? Keep reading. Read down to 7.
Increased shall be the fruit of your body, and the fruit of your ground, and the fruit of your cattle, the increase of your kind, and the flocks of your sheep.
Israel won't lack anything. Right? Go ahead.
Increased shall be your basket and your store. Increased shall you be when you come in, and increased shall you be when you go out. Yahuwah shall cause your enemies that rise up against you to be smitten before your face. They shall come out against you one way, and flee before you 7 ways.
Verse 9.
Verse 9. Yahuwah shall establish a Kodesh people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto you.
So that's that marriage, right? All right. He telling them the blessings. So, and one of those blessings is he going to establish a people to himself. So by him giving Israel these laws, this is him establishing the people once they accept the covenant. All right, go ahead. Read verse 9 again.
And Yahuwah shall establish you a Kodesh people unto himself, and as he hath sworn unto you, if you shall keep the commandments of Yahuwah your Elohim and walk in his ways. And all the people of the earth shall see that you are called by the name of Yahuwah, and they shall be afraid of you. And Yahuwah shall make you plenteous in goods, and in fruits of your body, and in the fruits of your cattle, and in the fruit of the ground, in the land which Yahuwah sware unto your fathers to give you. Yahuwah will open unto you his good treasure, the Shamayim, to give the rain unto the land in his season, and to increase all the work of your hand. And you shall lend unto many nations, and you shall not borrow.
You shall lend unto many nations, and you shall not borrow. Read verse 13.
And Yahuwah shall make you the head and not the tail. You shall be above only, and you shall not be beneath. If you listen unto the commandments of Yahuwah your Elohim, which I command you this day to observe and do them.
Go to verse 15.
Verse 15.
Now we're going to talk. Now it's going to go into the curses now. All right, the curses. If they're not obedient, what's to happen to them? Right? Go ahead. 28 and 15.
But if it shall come to pass, if you will not listen unto the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim, to observe to do his commandments, his statutes, which I command you this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the field. Cursed shall be your basket and your store. Cursed shall be the fruit of your body and the fruit of your land, the increase of your kind and the flocks of your sheep.
Now remember, he was just saying that they would be blessed if they was obedient. Now he's saying that cursed shall be the fruit of your body and the fruit of your land, the increase of thy kind. Slide down to verse 25.
Verse 25. Yahuwah shall cause you to be smitten before your enemies. You shall go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them.
At first it was them, the enemies fleeing from them. Now it's when they go out against the enemies, then they're going to run from their enemies instead, because they won't have the backing of the Father, right? Go to verse 29.
Verse 29. And you shall grope at noonday, as the blind grope in darkness.
Now wait a minute. You should grope at noonday, as the blind gropes in darkness. So picture this, like a blind man. When we see a blind person walking up and down the street, what are they using to guide their steps? They're usually using the white cane, or they got the dog, right? So I'm gonna use the white cane as an example. So it said you'll grope at noonday. That word grope is H4929, and it just means to feel through, a search. So imagine a blind man losing that white cane. All right, he won't have nothing to help him to guide his steps, because a lot of times when a blind man uses a white cane, he's using that as a way to get from point A to point B and remember his steps, right? So likewise with Israel, they be disobedient. that white cane is the law. And so if they cannot see, they'll grope as the blind man and feel, and they can't find their way, right? So the white cane or the law is like a light to their path. And speaking of which, let's get Psalm 119 and verse 105.
Psalms 119, 105. Y'all get there, say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path.
So your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path, right? That white cane that guides the blind, all right? Likewise with Israel, the law is that white cane guiding them down, up and down the street, getting them from point A to point B. All right. So the marriage contract was made up of curses, blessings. It had the law, statutes, and commandments. It has prophecy, right? So Israel accepts the covenant now. All right. So he presented it to him, and Israel accepts the covenant. So let's go back to Exodus 24 and 3.
Exodus 24 and 3.
Exodus 24 and verse 3.
Hallelujah. Exodus 24 and 3. And Moses came and told the people all the words of Yahuwah and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Yahuwah have said, we will do.
So they accepting the covenant right here. Go ahead.
And Moses wrote all the words of Yahuwah and rose up early in the morning and builded an altar under the hill and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto Yahuwah. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in the basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people, and they said, all this Yahuwah have said, will we do, and be obedient.
And be obedient. So this is them making the promise to be obedient, and they're accepting the marriage contract. All right. Remember, Yahuwah views Israel as his wife, right? You just read. That was just 8.
That was verse 7.
That was verse 7. Read verse 8.
And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which Yahuwah hath made with you concerning all these words.
Right. Go to Deuteronomy 29 and 10.
Deuteronomy chapter 29 and verse 10. You stand this day, all of you, before Yahuwah your Elohim, your captains of your tribes, your elders and your officers with all the men of Israel, your little ones, your wives, your stranger that is within your camp.
The stranger that is within your camp. Remember, it was a mixed multitude that came out with Israel from Egypt as well. And a lot of them wanted to serve the Most High as well. So now these strangers that's within their camp. These is those foreigners that came out of Egypt, right? Keep reading.
Even the stranger that is within your camp, from the hewer of your wood unto the drawer of your water, that you should enter into covenant with Yahuwah your Elohim, and into his oath, which Yahuwah your Elohim make with you this day, that he may establish you today for a people unto himself, and that he may be unto you Elohim, as he saith unto you, and as he sworn unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob.
Right. Now remember, this was centuries ago when they first arranged this marriage, right? This was centuries ago when he first arranged this marriage with Abraham. And now look, he's still keeping his word, and he's marrying Israel, right? Go ahead.
Neither with you only do I make this covenant and this oath, but with them that stand here with us this day before Yahuwah our Elohim, and also with him that is not here with us this day.
Right. Go to Deuteronomy, chapter 30 and verse 19. And read to 20.
For all y'all campers that don't let people who want to serve the Most High in your congregation.
Right.
30 and 13. Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say.
Oh, no, 30 and verse 19.
19, I'm sorry. I call Shamaim and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both you and your seed may live, if you may love Yahuwah your Elohim, and that you may obey his voice, and that you may cleave unto him, for he is your life.
He is your life, right? So this is now him wrapping the marriage contract up, and again reminding them that he called heaven and earth to record this day against them. All right, so later on you will see how the children of Israel started to be disobedient, and so they forgot this part here, but of course the Father never forgets, right? So let's see how Israel became a removed woman through the breaking of the laws. All right, so let's start with the fact that they were sacrificing children. All right, so 2 Kings 21 and 6.
Yeah, get there, so hallelujah.
Yeah, 2 Kings chapter 21 and verse 6.
2 Kings chapter 21 at verse 6. And he made his son pass through the fire and observed times.
And this is talking about King Manasseh right now. All right, go ahead.
And used enchantments and dealt with familiar spirits and wizards.
2 Kings 21 and verse 6.
Yeah. Everybody there? Yes. All right. I'm going to read it again. And he made his son pass through the fire and observed times and used enchantments and dealt with familiar spirits and wizards. He wrought much wickedness in the sight of Yahuwah to provoke him to anger.
To provoke him to anger. Let's see what law he actually broke. All right, so here we're going to go through a lot of the transgressions that was caused and what caused the Most High to mark Israel as an unclean woman. All right, so we're going to go back and forth. We're going to see the transgression, then we're going to go into the law, right? So go to Deuteronomy 18 and verse 9. Let's see how he actually broke the law, King Manasseh.
18 and 1.
At verse 9.
Verse 9.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 9. When you are come into the land which Yahuwah your Elohim give you, you shall not learn to do after the abomination of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that make his son or daughter pass through the fire.
See that? So this is the law written again centuries ago. And yet King Manasseh, either not knowing the law or not respecting it, is doing exactly what Yahuwah told him not to do.
Not respecting because he's supposed to write it.
Yeah, because he was supposed to write it and record it. And those kings that was going off did not do that. All right, keep going.
When you are coming to the land which Yahuwah your Elohim give you, you shall not learn to do after the abomination of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that make his son or daughter to pass through the fire, or that use divination, or an observer of time, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahuwah.
So I guess Manasseh was an abomination unto Yahuwah, right?
Facts.
Right? So that's one way. Now they were sacrificing children, and he was dealing with familiar spirits. Yeah. So now let's talk about the Shabbat. So they was defiling the Shabbat. Ezekiel 23 and 38.
23, 28.
38. I'm sorry. Yeah, Ezekiel chapter 23 and verse 38.
Hallelujah. Ezekiel 23 and verse 38. Moreover, this they have done unto me. They have defiled my sanctuary in the same day, and have profaned my Sabbaths.
All right, so they defiled his sanctuary, profaned his Sabbaths. Let's go back to Exodus 20 and verse 8.
And verse 8.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8, and read down to 11.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it Kodesh. 6 days shall we labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your Elohim. In it you shall not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger that is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made Shamayim, and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuwah barak the Shabbat day and holiday.
Okay, so they defiled the Sabbaths. They was committing idolatry. Let's go to 1 Kings 12 and 28 and show that. Let's see how the northern kingdom was defiling the Sabbath, committing idolatry, and we're going to show how the southern kingdom was committing idolatry. 1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 28.
1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 28. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, it is too much for you to go to Jerusalem. Behold your gods, O Israel, which brought you up out of the land of Egypt.
Which brought you up out of the land of Egypt. So let's go back to Exodus 20 and verse 3. He reared up 2 golden calves and told the northern kingdom that these are the gods that brought you out of the land of Egypt.
Exodus 20 and verse 3. You shall have no other gods before me.
Right.
You shall not make unto you any graven image or any likeness of anything that's in Shamayim above, or which is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah your Elohim, as a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the 3rd and 4th generations of them that hate me, and showing kindness unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
Right. So Jeroboam caused the northern kingdom to sin by rearing up those 2 golden calves. Go to Ezekiel 14. Southern kingdom did the same thing. Ezekiel 14 and verse 1.
Ezekiel chapter 14 and verse 1. Then came certain of the elders of Israel unto me and sat before me. And the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their heart.
They set up the idols in their heart. All right. So when we read Exodus 20 and verse 3, it says, you shall have no other gods before me. That's not necessarily a physical God. It's the idolatry also can be the energy you put into something else. Like if sports is your thing, then you might put more energy into sports than into serving the Father. If you like getting money can become your God. You'll do anything for money, even if it means risking your life for it. All right. And we see that very often. All right. So they set up their idols in their hearts. Go ahead.
Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their heart and put the stumbling block of their iniquity before their face. Should I be inquired of at all by them?
So the Most High don't even want to talk to these people because he know their hearts, right? You know how our people say, well, the Most High know my heart, even though they fornicators out here in the world? Right here, let's pause here and get Jeremiah 17 and 9. He know your heart. And verse 9 to read down to 10.
Jeremiah 17 and 9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it?
Who can know it? And but the Most High, right? See how he knew their hearts? Go ahead and read verse 10.
Yahuwah searched the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doing.
Right. So let's go back to Ezekiel 14. So we know that the Most High searched the reins of the heart, right? So start back up at verse 3.
Verse 3. Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their heart and put a stumbling block of their iniquity before their face.
They put a stumbling block of their iniquity. They did this. Self-inflicted wounds, right? Go ahead.
Should I be inquired of at all by them? Therefore speak to them and say to them, Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, every man of the house of Israel that set up idols in his heart and put the stumbling block of his iniquity before his face and come to the prophet, I Yahuwah will answer him that come according to the multitude of his idols, that I may take the house of Israel in their own heart, because they are all estranged from me through their idols. Therefore say unto the house of Israel, Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, repent.
He's still telling them, notice, he's still telling them to repent. They're in captivity. Now, here's the thing. They're in captivity, still doing the same things. And he's telling them why they're in captivity through the prophet Ezekiel to repent, right? Look at the mercy of the Father. Go ahead.
And turn yourself from your idols, and turn away your faces from all your abominations. For every one of the house of Israel, or of the stranger that sojourned in Israel, would separate himself from me, and set up his idols in his heart, and put the stumbling block of his heart of his iniquity before his face, and come to a prophet to inquire of him concerning me, I Yahuwah will answer him myself, and I will set my face against that man, and will make him a sign and a proverb, and I will cut him off from the midst of my people, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah.
Right.
And if the
so let's go to Jeremiah 22. So they was committing idolatry. We already established that. Now, they was also oppressing strangers. All right, those foreigners that chose to dwell amongst them. Right? Jeremiah 22 and verse 3. Let me get there.
Not like they doing today, right? Like in these congregations, it won't be like that.
Well, exactly like that. Exactly like that. Oppressing them is oppressing them in any type of way. Jeremiah 22 and verse 3. Are we there?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah? Okay. No? Hold on. Yep, and verse 3.
Jeremiah chapter 22 and verse 3. Thus saith Yahuwah, execute you judgment and righteousness. Deliver the spoil out of the hand of the oppressor, and do no wrong. Do no violence to the stranger.
Do no violence to the stranger, right?
The fatherless, nor the widow, neither shed innocent blood in this place.
Right. So let's see how they was supposed to treat the stranger. Exodus 22 and verse 21. Read verse 4. Read verse 4.
For if you do this thing indeed, then shall there enter in by the gates of his house kings sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and horses, and he and his servants and his people.
Go give me Exodus 22 and verse 21.
Exodus chapter 22 and verse 21. When y'all get there, say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
You shall neither vex a stranger nor oppress him. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. So the Most High did not want the children of Israel oppressing the strangers, especially since they made a conscious decision to come out as a mixed multitude and come and serve him with the children of Israel. So he wanted them to have mercy on the strangers. All right. Oppressing widows. Give me Luke 20 and 47. Luke chapter 20 and verse 47.
Lucas.
Hallelujah. Luke chapter 20 and verse 47.
Start at 46. I'm sorry.
46. Oh, you get it. Beware of the scribes, which desire to walk in long robes.
So the Messiah is talking to the disciples and informing them about the hearts of the scribes. Right? Go ahead.
And love greetings in the markets, in the highest seats in the synagogues, in the chief rooms at feasts, which devour widows' houses.
They devour widows' houses. All right. So now that's what I wanted out of there. So let's go back to Exodus 22 and 22. Let's see how they were supposed to treat widows.
Exodus 22 and verse 22.
All right, go ahead.
You shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If you afflict them in any wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry.
So the Most High has a thing against those that afflict a widow, a fatherless child, that afflict the poor. Right? Go ahead.
And my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword. And your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless.
And when they went into captivity, this is exactly what happened. All right. Nebuchadnezzar was wreaking havoc and left a lot of widows and fatherless children. All right, because of what they was doing. Right?
Well, Poppy.
It did sound like a threat.
Nah, it was for sure. Poppy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You treat them like that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna kill you.
Israel was accepting bribes. So let's get Micah verse 3 and 11. Chapter 3 and verse 11.
Straight, no chaser. You just, look. There's no going and seeing the council. No, I'm going to kill you.
Right. Micah chapter 3 and verse 11.
When y'all get there, say hallelujah. Micah chapter 3 and verse 11. The heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire, and the prophets thereof divine for money. Yet will they lean upon Yahuwah and say, is not Yahuwah among us? None evil can come upon us.
Wow, right? So they teach for reward, accepting bribes. They are they're money driven. That's idolatry as well.
Yeah,
right?
Stop taking them tithes, y'all. See how fresh beef been lately? Y'all know where that money coming from?
And let's get let's see how they broke the law. Let's see Exodus. Let's get Exodus chapter 23 and verse 8.
I'm just playing, y'all. The people in the chat gonna be like, what? Turn the camera, let me see me. 23:8.
Yeah, Exodus chapter 23 and verse 8.
Exodus chapter 23 and verse 8. And you shall take no gift, for the gift bindeth the wise, and pervert the words of righteousness.
Right. So let's get Matthew 26 and 15. Let's get an example of that.
Which one?
Matthew chapter 26 and verse 15. We're going to get an example of accepting the bribe, right?
26, 17.
26 and 15.
15. Okay,
Matthew 26 and verse 15.
Matthew. Y'all there? I'm sorry. Hallelujah. And he said unto them, what would you give me?
Start at 14.
Verse 14. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went unto the chief priests and said unto them, what will you give me? And I deliver him unto you. And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver.
This is Judas selling the Messiah out, right? To his destruction, all right? For 30 pieces of silver. Or just to get an example of what accepting bribes and taking gifts is. All right. So here's one that we often don't focus on. The children of Israel was getting free labor. They was having their brothers do labor and then wouldn't pay them. So here's Jeremiah 22 and verse 13. Jeremiah chapter 22 and verse 13. And it's a law against that.
Which one?
Jeremiah 22 and verse 13.
Yes, sir.
Jeremiah 22 and 13. Woe unto him that build his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong, that use his neighbor's service without wages, and give him not for his work.
Right. So he calling the children of Israel out, and he's telling them, woe unto him that built his house by unrighteousness. Now the unrighteousness would be him not paying his neighbor. All right. Pay what you owe, right? So let's see. Leviticus. Let's get Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 39. Now let's see how this law was broken, right? Chapter 25 and verse 39. And we reading down to 43.
Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 39. And if your brother that dwell by you be waxing poor, and be sold unto you.
Understand, your brother, that's a Hebrew servant, all right? Because it is a difference between a Hebrew servant and a stranger that's a servant, right? Go ahead.
If your brother that dwell by you be waxing poor, and be sold unto you, you shall not compel him to serve as a bondservant,
right?
But as an hired servant, as a sojourner, he shall be with you and shall serve you unto the year of Jubilee.
So the children of Israel could not rule over each other forever and ever. It was a year release. Jubilee was that year release, and it was also supposed to serve or supposed to hire them, and it wasn't supposed to use them as bond servants. Keep going.
And then shall he depart from you, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, and unto the possession of his fathers shall he return, for they are my servants.
They are my servants. The Hebrews are his servants. All right. Now I'm going to read down to. Go ahead. Just go ahead. Huh? Oh yeah. Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. You shall not rule over him with rigor, but shall fear your Elohim.
You fear your Elohim by not ruling over your brother with rigor. All right, keep reading. Let's see the difference between a bond servant and a Hebrew servant. Go ahead.
Both your bondmen and your bondmaids, which you shall have, shall be of the heathen.
Shall be of the heathen. All right, so that's the strangers. That's not Hebrews, right? All right, so it's a difference between a Hebrew servant and a stranger that becomes your servant. They are your bond servants. Hebrews was not supposed to rule over each other with rigor. All right, so let's go back. They was committing murder. So let's go to 2 Kings and get an example of that. 2 Kings chapter 24 and verse 3. 2 Kings chapter 24 and verse 3.
Hallelujah. Surely at the commandment of Yahuwah came this upon Judah, to remove them out of his sight, for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did, and also for the innocent blood that he shed. For he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which Yahuwah would not pardon.
Yahuwah would not pardon innocent people getting killed. All right. So they was committing murder. Let's see. Go to Exodus 20 and verse 15. I'm sorry, Exodus 20 and verse 13. Sorry about that.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 13. You shall not murder.
You shall not murder. All right, simple. All right, no stipulation. But there is a difference between murder and self-defense. All right, in Exodus 22, it talks about if somebody breaks in and they get smitten that they die, it shouldn't be no punishment. But when you commit, you killing innocent people for your personal gain, that is considered murder. Okay, they was robbing and they was stealing. So let's go to Ezekiel 22 and verse 29.
Ezekiel chapter 22 and verse 29. The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery.
Go ahead.
And have vexed the poor and needy. Yeah, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully.
Right. So let's go to Exodus 20 and 15.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 15. You shall not steal.
You shall not steal. Real simple, right? They were stealing in the land, murder, free labor from Hebrew servants. All right, I got some more. They was coveting. All right, Micah 2 and verse 2.
Hallelujah. Micah 2 and 2. And they covet fields and take them by violence.
They do what?
They covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
Wow. So go to Exodus 20 and 17. The coveting led them to steal and murder.
Exodus 20 and 17. You shall not covet your neighbor's house, nor shall you covet your neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's.
Nor anything that is your neighbor's, right? So also here's one. Israel was closing his hand to the poor. All right, Ezekiel 16 and 49. They were supposed to take care of the poor of the land. Everybody did not own their own possessions like some others did. Everybody did not have the same level of wealth. All right? So they were supposed to take care of each other.
Ezekiel chapter 16.
Yep, 16 and verse 49.
Verse 49. Behold, this was the iniquity of your sister Sodom, pride. Fullness of bread and abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy.
Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. Now here you have the children of Israel getting compared to Sodom. When you hear about Sodom, it's often about the fornication, but Sodom had other wickedness going on, like not strengthening the hand of the poor and oppressing people, right? And so Israel is getting compared to Sodom the same way. All right, so let's go to Deuteronomy 15:7.
Deuteronomy chapter 15 and verse 7. If there be among you a poor man of one of your brethren within any of your gates in the land which Yahuwah your Elohim give you, you shall not harden your heart, nor shut your hand from your poor brother. But you shall open your hand wide unto him, and shall surely lend him sufficient for his needs in that which he want. Beware that there be not a thought in your wicked heart, saying the 7th year, the year of release, is at hand, and your eye be evil against your poor brother, and you give him nothing, and he cry unto Yahuwah against you, and it be sin unto you. You shall surely give him, and your heart shall not be grieved when you give unto him, because that for this thing Yahuwah your Elohim shall increase you in all your works, and all that you put your hand unto.
So we should want to take care of each other, regardless of their status. We should want to take care of our brother, and this is what Yahuwah is pointing out. He's telling them that you should want to take care of your brother and make sure that you don't let him lack in nothing. If you're wealthy, your brother should be, well, not necessarily wealthy, but he should be taken care of, right? Verse 11.
For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command you, saying, you shall open your hand wide unto your brother, to your poor, and to the needy in your land.
Right.
If your brother...
No. So we good there. So these were some of the things. Now it was many, many more. These are just a few things that the children of Israel did to become defiled, right? So through their disobedience, all right, they became like an unclean woman, right? And we already went over how a woman in her cycle was supposed to be set apart. So what was Yahuwah supposed to do in this situation? Supposed to separate him, right? He got fed up with her uncleanness. All right. So let's see what happened. Let's go to 2 Kings 17. And I think that's 34. So let's see what Yahuwah did.
2 Kings chapter 17. Verse 34. When y'all get there, say hallelujah. Hallelujah. Unto this day they do after the former manners. They fear not Yahuwah, neither do they after their statutes or their ordinances, or after the law and commandment which Yahuwah commanded the children of Jacob, whom he named Israel.
Hold on, go to Go to 18. I'm sorry about that. Verse 18. 2 Kings 17 and verse 18.
Therefore Yahuwah was very angry with Israel, and he removed them out of his sight. And there was none left but the tribe of Yehudah only.
Right.
And Yehudah kept not the commandments of Yahuwah their Elohim, but walked in the statutes of Israel, which they made. And Yahuwah rejected all the seed of Israel, and afflicted them, and delivered them into the hand of the spoilers, until he had cast them out of his sight.
So he cast the whole nation of Israel, northern and southern kingdom, out of his sight because of their iniquity. All right, they became as a menstruous woman, so he had to set them aside. Right. So how is it now that we could come back to the Father? Mashiach, right? So he's our priest then. All right. So let's see. Hebrews 5:1.
Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 1. When y'all get there, say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
For every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to Elohim, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins.
Right. Remember, the seed of Aaron under the tribe of Levi was ordained to do the high priesthood, right? Go ahead.
Who can have compassion on the ignorant and on them that are out of the way, for that he himself also is compassed with infirmity. And by reason hereof he ought, as for the people, so also for himself to offer for sins.
Right.
And no man take his honor unto himself, but he that is called of Elohim, as was Aaron. So also Mashiach glorified not himself to be made an high priest, but he that said unto him, You are my son, today have I begotten you.
So the Father ordained him to be an high priest. All right. So with Mashiach, with the high priesthood, we have to understand that the high priest is usually the one that vouches for us once, like for example, with the unclean woman. So she was supposed to offer 2 turtle doves and bring them to the high priest. Why couldn't she go in and offer to the Father? She was clean, but she wasn't ordained. She wasn't the son of Aaron, right? So it takes for the seed of Aaron to be that mediator, right? Male seed. I'm sorry. They take for that male seed to be that mediator, right? The seed of Aaron, right? Specifically the male seed, right? So likewise with Mashiach, all right, what must he do? He must be that mediator for us to go before the Father, and to vouch for us and tell the Father, like, these are my people, right? So let's see. Mashiach being a priest could be as a doctor as well, all right, because of the healing that he did. So let's get some examples of that. Matthew 9 and 12.
Matthew 9 and 12. But when Mashiach heard that, he said unto them, that they that be whole need not a physician, but they that are sick.
So he was talking to the Pharisees, and he was letting them know that, hey, I'm coming for the sick, those that are dealing with diseases, and also to teach those that's in darkness that it's hope to come out of their darkness. So Matthew 8 and verse 1.
Matthew 8 and 1. When he was come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him. And behold, there came a leper, and worshipped him, saying, Master, if you will, you can make me clean. Mashiach put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be you clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed.
All right. Read verse 4.
And Mashiach said unto him, See, you tell no man, but go your way, show yourself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moshe commanded, for a testimony unto them.
Right. So let's see. Go to Luke 7 and 2.
Luke chapter 7 and verse 2. And a certain centurion servant, who was dear unto him, was sick and ready to die. They had that Roman. And when he heard of Mashiach, he sent unto him the elders of the Yehudim, beseeching him that he would come and heal his servant. And when they came to Mashiach, they besought him instantly, saying that he was worthy for whom he should do this.
So the other Jews, the elders, is vouching for their master and saying that their master, pretty much, who is a Gentile, is worthy because he loved their nation. Keep going.
For he loved our nation, and he hath built us a synagogue.
That's why they feel that he's worthy, right? Go ahead.
And Mashiach went with them, and he was now not far from the house. The centurion sent friends to him, saying unto him, Master, trouble not yourself, for I am not worthy that you should enter under my roof. Wherefore neither thought I myself worthy to come unto you, but say in a word, and my servant shall be healed. For I also am a man set under authority, having under me soldiers. I say unto one, go, and he go, and to another, come, and he come, and to my servant, do this, and he do it. When Mashiach heard these things, he marveled at him, and he turned them about, and said unto the people that followed him, I say to you, I ain't found so great faith. No, not in Israel.
Right. So go to Luke 8:43. So Mashiach was pleased with this Gentiles' faith. Right. Go to Luke 8:43.
Luke chapter 8, verse 43. And a woman having an issue of blood 12 years, which had spent all her living upon physicians, neither could be healed of any, came behind him and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her issue of blood was stanched. And Mashiach said, who touched me? And when all denied, Peter and they that were with him said, Master, the multitude throng you and press you, and say you, who touched me?
Mashiach was so holy that he understood that somebody that was sick touched his garment, and like it was crowds of people around him. And so Peter and the apostles is focusing on that, while the Mashiach is so in the spirit, he understood that a sick person touched him that needed his healing. Go ahead.
Somebody have touched me, for I perceive that virtue is gone out of me. And when the woman saw that she was not hid, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared unto him before all the people for what cause she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. And he said unto her, Daughter, be of good comfort. Your faith hath made you whole.
Right.
Go in peace.
Right. So, Mashiach. So why did he have to play the role of the priest? Right. So he had to play the role of the priest, even though he was from the tribe of Judah, the seed of David. Right. So let's see, Romans 5:10.
Say hallelujah. Romans 5:8. But Elohim commanded his love towards us in that we were yet sinners. Mashiach died for us. Much more then, being now justified by his blood, we shall be saved from the wrath through him.
Right.
For if, when we were enemies, we were reconciled to Elohim by the death of his son.
So we had to be reconciled by the death of Mashiach, right? Now, here's the thing. Mashiach was not only the priest, but he was the Lamb of Elohim as well. So imagine, let's think about the priest in the Old Testament, the seed of Aaron, and how the woman with the issue of blood, or that was in her issue, after 7 days, she had to take the 2 turtle doves. She took the 2 turtle doves to the priest, and the priest went in before the Most High and offered the sacrifice. So if it wasn't for the priest offering the sacrifice, she wouldn't be deemed as clean, right? So in the situation with Mashiach, the woman, Israel, has to now have Mashiach offer himself up, and he's also the priest. So he's the priest offering the lamb up. So in essence, he's just offering himself up, right? Keep read to 11.
Verse 8 again. But
read. Here, you can read it. Start over. You can go ahead.
That's where we started, right?
No, yeah, but we was at verse 10.
Oh, my bad. I read verse 10. For if, when we were enemies, we were reconciled by Elohim by the death of his son, much more, being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life. And not only so, but we also joy in Elohim through our Master, Yahushua HaMashiach, by whom we have now received the atonement.
Right.
Wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin.
That's it. That's it. So the Mashiach offered itself up. He was the high priest, and he was the Lamb of Elohim. Right. So now, like I said earlier, it takes for a priest to vouch for a person to say that person is clean. All right. So by them taking, with the situation with Aaron and his seed, by him taking a sacrifice into the holiest of holies, he's vouching for that person and saying this person is clean right here. Right. So let's go to St. John 17 and verse 9. And see how Mashiach, our high priest, vouches for the disciples. Just to give an example. St. John chapter 17 and verse 9.
John chapter 17 and verse 9. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them which you have given me, for they are yours.
So he's vouching for them. They are yours because he proved them through the course of his life, right? Go ahead.
And all mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I am esteemed in them. And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world. And I come to you, Kodesh, Father, keep through your own name those whom you have given me, that they may be one as we are. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in your name. Those that you gave me have I kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition. And the scripture might be fulfilled. And now come I to you, and these things I speak in the world, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. I have given them your word, and the world have hated them, because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world.
So when Mashiach gave them the word, them accepting and deciding to follow him, they separated themselves. So this is why now, after them proving themselves, he's vouching for them. So just to give an example of how we need our high priest to vouch for us before the Father. All right, it's not possible. He's that doorway. We can't get into the kingdom without the high priest, Yeshua HaMashiach, right? And then at the time appointed, we have that marriage ceremony, right? So let's go to Revelation 19 and verse 7.
Revelation chapter 19 and verse 7. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready.
Right, his wife hath made herself ready. All right, keep going.
And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white.
All right, the clean and white represents the purity of the church and those believers in Mashiach. All right, go ahead.
For the fine linen is the righteousness of saints. And he said unto me, Write, increased are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said unto me, These are the true sayings of Elohim.
Right.
And
so that's the marriage to the Lamb now. So just to give a brief recap, we need our Lord to vouch for us before the Father. All right. There's no other way to get into the kingdom. No other way to get into the kingdom. Without him, we'll die as sinners. We needed him to shed the blood before the Father, right? So after that, I digress.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. What's wrong with that? Oh, I ain't know.
Mic drop.
You love it, you hate it, don't do it again, do it next week, come back again. Yeah, y'all something. Who the next person want to step up into these seats?
You shy? Johnny said he'll try. You on next week, huh? You on next week.
Teach a children's lesson if I'm so asked.
Y'all got any questions? Oh, you want to teach? You shook your head, yeah, when he said Brother Larry. You know, yeah.
I think he did an excellent job.
Hallelujah.
All praises to the Most High. Thank you.
Bro,
sir.
Go ahead.
I did miss that precept you gave when you were talking about stealing. I didn't get that one precept.
Oh, yeah, sure. That was Ezekiel 22 and 29.
We got any questions? Pretty thorough?
So, what was Messiah throughout this lesson?
He was the husband.
And what else? He mentioned what else?
The high priest and the king.
And the king,
Sacrifice.
sacrifice.
In order for him to marry us again or to take us back, he had to die.
So all in all, Messiah is what to us? Everything. That's what he's showing you. He's everything to us. Father, husband, brother, sister, whatever it is you need at that moment, that's what he is for you.
Sister Lady got a question. Hold on.
So if it was if the priests were only the male seed of Levi, right?
Yeah. Just like with King David, he's the chosen of Judah. Right. Yeah. Right. So
let her finish what she was saying.
I'm sorry.
So it had to be married to. So I don't. How does that lineage equate to Mashiach in reference to, like, because you know how in Matthew he's got one genealogy and then in Luke there's another. I've heard people say that Mary was of Levi because Elizabeth was of Levi, her husband, but I don't think that is the case because Eleazar would have been a Levi because he was the priest. But that doesn't necessarily make Mary a Levi. But I'm trying to figure out how it works because, like, Matthew speaks of Joseph's lineage being Judah, and then Luke actually speaks of Joseph's lineage being Judah. They're two different lineages. I've heard people, like I said, say one was Mary and the other was Joseph. Could you clarify that? I don't know if that's clear.
So you kind of asking, like, how was Messiah able to become the priest?
Yes.
Okay, so he's not under the Aaronic priesthood. He's under the Melchizedek priesthood. Well, that's why it tells you, get on Psalms 110.
Psalms 110 and verse 1. Yahuwah said unto my master, sit you at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. Yahuwah shall send the rod of your strength out of Zion, rule you in the midst of your enemies. Your people shall be willing in the day of your power, in the beauties of Kodesh, from the womb of the morning. You have the dew of your youth. You have sworn and will not repent. You are a priest forever.
How long?
Forever.
Read.
After the order of Melchizedek.
So this is how he's able to do it, because he's not from Aaron's seed, but he's under the Melchizedek order, right? Which is king and priest, because he's both king, priest, and prophet, right? So he came a prophet. When he raised up, he was a priest. And when he come back, he'll be the king, right?
Is there a study on the order of Melchizedek?
There actually is.
It's on the page.
It is. It's a dope lesson too. It's dope. It's called Who is Melchizedek? Yeah. Yeah. Is there another? Will you ask? No? Check the chat.
Come will you ask?
You got will you ask? Let me get on this chat. Everything.
So how do we get back to getting in Yah's good graces and to be invited to the wedding? Yes.
Gotta accept Yahushua and follow his teachings.
Yeah, you gotta basically reverse everything that he was saying that they was doing to get out of his graces. Basically reverse it. Keep them. Anything on there?
It says this lesson is an awesome example of how to search the scriptures and gaining 2 to 3 witnesses. Hallelujah. Showing the law, then an example. Love it. Encouragement.
Praises to the Most High.
I say
No questions on the chat. It was very thorough.
I was reading Exodus early this week, and we know God can do anything. And I'm trying to understand, besides pride, we're talking about Pharaoh, besides pride, we know he obviously had. Why did the Most High harden his heart? What was it to teach Pharaoh something, or was it to teach the nation something? Instead of just delivering us, why go through the plagues? What was the purpose of,
One of the reasons that he hardened Pharaoh's heart, because Pharaoh already showed himself to be wicked, right? So as soon as he came on the scene, he like, man, they too mighty. Kill them off. You know what I'm saying? So, like a lot of people think that when Pharaoh's heart was hardened, it was just done. You know what I'm saying? Nah, Pharaoh went reprobate just like anybody else, right? He was given the opportunity to turn, but the Most High already knew he ain't gonna turn. So I'm gonna harden his heart. You know what I'm saying? So sending them through the plagues was to show the Most High's esteem. That's what he said. Everything is for his esteem. It's to show his glory. Remember, he had to marry Israel. And he told Abraham, I've got to do it just like this. So this was the grand exit so he can enter in and come into covenant with the children of Israel. You know what I'm saying?
And even with the hardening of the heart, you can't get it mistaken like Yah made Pharaoh do. Like, no,
right.
like it's just like a reprobate. He give you over to what you desire.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? When you become reprobate, it's because you desire to be. So he give you over to it. So it's Pharaoh. As time progressed, he wouldn't let go. He wouldn't let go. He wouldn't let go. And his heart was hardened because that's what he wanted. He was trying to show his own power and his being. But it wasn't like Yah changed him. Like, don't let no. He gave him over to himself, to his own,
right.
Fleshly desire.
Keep your sin.
The first one, didn't he harden his own heart the first time?
In Exodus 8:15.
Yeah, the first time he did it.
Exodus 8:15.
Exodus chapter 8, verse 15. And when Pharaoh saw that there was respite, he hardened his heart and hearkened not unto them, as Yahuwah hath said.
So you can see this is self-inflicted.
So he did it himself.
He did it himself. Now that you're doing it, I'm just going to give you all the way into it. Right? Is this what you want?
We call it a hard head. Scripture called it a hard head.
In Egypt, it was the world power at that time, correct?
Said it wasn't?
They were the world power. The Most High was showing itself. Everybody was looking to Egypt for everything.
I think Egypt and I think Ethiopia.
Yeah, the Kush, Egypt, yeah.
So you can even see when they when Yah first sent Moses in there to speak to him, he said, "Who is Yahuwah? I don't know him." You know what I'm saying? Talking tough. Like, okay.
Nah, I'll show you.
That's good, huh?
Yeah. You know, according to the way the scriptures think, I mean, Pharaoh was like God. Yeah, Pharaoh was God.
I was reading in Genesis, and it said, no, it was at the end of Genesis, and it said something about how like the Egyptians didn't eat bread with like
shepherds.
But with the shepherds, was that what it was? They did eat bread with the shepherds or something? I don't know if that's like anything significant, but it caught my eye.
I believe that the cattle was their god for the most part back then, so like we was like herding it, so we couldn't eat it. So they took this as an abomination because we were shepherds and they worship cattle. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the same question. That's what he said to me too.
I know that they didn't like, they hated the shepherds or something.
They didn't want to eat with us
about eating bread. Yeah.
They didn't eat with us, they didn't sit with us or nothing. And they gave us a specific part of Egypt because they didn't want us to eat.
We can talk about that after.
Basically. Like, yeah, we rock with you, Joseph, but take one of your people over there. If he did learn about it, all different men on the prophets.
Got a scripture on something else though. So I don't want nobody here to do this. So I know how we get the current events and everybody jump out the window and start making stuff up. Right? I don't want nobody in here to do this.
Is it straight?
Right?
Is it straight?
Yeah.
Isaiah chapter 26,
Talk about the door thing.
verse 20.
That's two more questions. You mind reading that for me?
What is
Pick it up at 19.
26, 19.
26 and 19.
Uh-huh.
This is Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 19. Thy dead men shall live, together with my dead body shall they arise. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in dust, for thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead.
Now, what is this speaking about?
When Mashiach resurrected, they said that a lot of tombs were open.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I said that when Mashiach was resurrected, it said in Luke that a lot of the graves were open and they left with him.
Absolutely. Verse 20. This is the verse because of the quarantine that people is using.
Before you say that, this is one of the questions on the chat. So it says, this Isaiah 26 and 20, he's about to address this, and then we'll get to the next question after that.
I didn't even know it was out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Verse 20.
Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpast. For behold, Yahuwah cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain.
Read that one more time.
For behold, Yahuwah cometh out of his place.
This is when he comes out of his place, right?
To punish the inhabitants of the earth.
To do what?
To punish the inhabitants of the earth.
Has the anti-Mashiach showed up yet?
No, sir.
You ain't here yet, right? Read.
Out of the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain.
Meaning the resurrection of the dead is coming at this point. So this right here is saying, come my people into their chambers and shut thy doors about thee. This is talking about when he says basically that come up in Thessalonians. This has nothing to do with quarantining yourself. He don't say anything about there's a plague on the earth and it's going to kill you or anything. So this is another one like Hebrews chapter 10 about the Christmas tree. That everybody in Israel is twisting. This has nothing to do with a quarantine. This is talking about something at the end when the Most High pulls you up into the sky to be taken out of the way of what's down below. Like he pulled Noah up into the air to keep them out of the way of what's on the earth underneath them going on. So please, nobody in here, don't post this verse talking about, see, the quarantine is in the Bible. This is not the quarantine. This has nothing to do with that. It's always we trying to make something fit. So I'm be talking about. Don't do this.
Exodus. So this is the second question that's in there. It says, question, is there two Yahuwahs present in Exodus 19:24? It says, and Yahuwah said unto him, away, get you down, and you shall come up, you and Aharon with you, but let not the priests and the people break through to come up unto Yahuwah, lest he break forth upon them. So he's talking about where it says, and Yahuwah said unto him, and then him, while he's continuing to say, he says, and the people break through to come up to Yahuwah, lest he break forth upon them.
What verse you at?
This 19:24. Exodus. I'll read it again. It says, and Yahuwah said unto him, away, get you down, and you shall come up, and Aharon with you, but let not the priests and the people break through to come up unto Yahuwah, lest he break forth upon them.
Yeah, it's the one talking about the other one.
Right. Are those the only questions? Thank you, Sister Pam. Appreciate you, Brother Nate. There's one more? You said there's one more? Oh. That's why I got a question about Passover. Some are observing Passover this week. Do you have any insight on why? No. However, they are. However, they are. However, people designated to do their count. That's what they come up with.
They're not a part of the seed, therefore.
Yeah, it's not. It's
Can't
like
worry
really
about it.
what they say. That's none of my business.
Yeah, they count.
Yeah, it's not really our business. Wait, real quick before you say that. All right, listen, y'all. We gotta get out of the habit of just going in on people. Seriously, because it's like in their own hearts, they're doing what they supposed to be doing for the Most High. You know what I'm saying? So it could be something that we doing, and people like, oh y'all, they, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not proper. You know what I'm saying? Consider one another because they're still doing. You know what I'm saying? So, nah. Go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to ask. Okay, I know back in the beginning that Pesach, okay, they had, okay, we supposed to remember, I guess they was putting the blood over the doorpost for the destroyer, the Passover the house. Okay, now in today's time, so now Mashiach is the Passover lamb, right?
Yes.
So dealing with this, putting the blood on the doorpost, are we now the doorpost by having a Mashiach? who's the doorpost now? Are we that? Are we in the place of the doorpost now? As destroy your past?
Stepping on my toes for his lesson.
I mean, I just witnessed
That's a good thought.
this to someone yesterday, but as I started to think about it, I'm like, are we the doorpost now? Because they had actually a door that they had to put blood on the Passover. So are we now? We became that doorpost to the Mashiach being the official lamb to cover us? That's that doorpost?
We are not the doorpost. He said, I am the door.
So he's the door.
He's the door.
Okay.
We can't let nobody in nowhere.
Okay.
He is the door, the gate, just like we was talking about. He the father, the husband, the judge, the jury, the lamb. He the door.
So he the door and the blood.
Absolutely. He's all of it. He the priest, he the sacrificial lamb, he the judge, the doctor, the lawyer, everything that you can come up with, it's all him.
Come on now.
Yeah. I kind of thought the chosen seed knew this.
He is the dove and the lamb.
That's why I'm glad I don't talk like that. I don't do all of that. I don't do none of that. I just talk.
You my sister, you supposed to know that.
Absolutely.
I felt it coming though. I felt it. And that boy would have found two more things to say he is. It was coming. It was coming.
Yahuwah.
I have a question about that. In Exodus 24, it says, and Yahuwah said unto him, away, get you down, you shall come up, you and Aharon with you. Let not the priest and the people break through to come up upon Yahuwah, lest he break forth upon them. So the Mashiach is just saying, like, hey, I'm here. I'm just a messenger. You come this way, then there's going to be something I ain't got nothing to do with it that's going to kill you. That's basically what he's saying, like the power is going to come and he ain't got nothing to do with it. It's like he's just there, delivering the message, but everything that's happening is just is the Most High, but he's just there in his stead. That's what I'm getting from it. You know,
What verse was you at?
That same one we was just talking about.
And Yahuwah said unto him, away, get thee down. So
That's
Yah
Mashiach. That's Mashiach.
speaking, right?
Yes, right.
Get thee down, and thou shalt come up, you and Aaron with thee, but let not the priest and the people break through to come up unto Yahuwah.
Right.
Who was this one?
That's the Father.
You sure?
No, I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking the question.
It's the Father speaking in this. Of course, Mashiach is speaking for him.
Right.
But
So that's the part of okay.
So he says to come up unto Yahuwah, because we know this Mashiach is the one that comes down, right?
Exactly.
Least he break forth upon them.
Right.
That he is Mashiach break forth upon you.
But Yahuwah is using Mashiach to do it.
Right. Here's his voice.
Got you. The image, right? I just want to understand how that played out.
So he gave them a command, then he gave them the punishment right then and there too. Let someone break forth for you.
Come on in
So,
here and see me if you want to.
Okay. Any more questions inside the building?
I just want to know why you saw that. Some foolery, brother.
He was born with you. Alright, that's nothing else is on the chat. So we will pray out. We gonna pray out. Pray out. Hey, we gonna pray out. Let's pray out. Hey, we gonna pray
pray, we gonna pray, we gonna pray, pray out, pray out. We gonna pray, we gonna pray, we gonna pray, we gonna pray, pray out, pray out, pray out,
Pray for the face of the people that they stop.
1 second, John. 1 second, 1 second.
Once again, I just want to make sure if you have any special prayer requests, we have the book on around, sign up to be here on the table. I guess that's the easy way to do it. And then prayer team will pray over this for this week. We have much to pray for this week, and we're just going to trust y'all to keep us. We know He will. Here.
Father, y'all, once again we come before you, Father, standing as your people, Father, with one heart, with one mind, on one accord, Father, asking, Father, that you would just be with us in this trying time, Father. Help us to be courageous, Father. Help us to have a heart to serve you above all, Father. We thank you for the word that went forth, Father. We pray that you would allow it to soak into our hearts, Father. It would be planted there. It would grow into something mighty, Father. Father, we thank you for the sacrifice that was made, Father, that allowed us to be redeemed, Father, according to your word, Father, the promise that was given unto Abraham, Father. Father, we thank you for every soul in attendance, for everybody who watches the live stream, Father. We pray that you would continue to let them be edified according to your word, Father, that wisdom would abound, Father. We thank you for the law that was given, Father, that separate the righteous from the unrighteous, the clean from the unclean, Father. We thank you, Father. We thank you for your Son, Father, who was sent. We thank you for the Passover, Father, for the Lamb, Father, that was given for the sacrifice, Father. Father, we are just so thankful for everything that you have done for us, Father. Father, this and all these things, Father, that we pray, Hashem Yehovah, Dorikai Yoshua Hamashiach, Ruach HaKodesh. So be it.
So be it.
Abinu Shabbat Shemayim.
Abinu Shabbat Shemayim.
Ikadosh. Shemka. Tabo. Maguka. Yaseh. Ratzonka. Ba'aretz. Kashir. Nasha. Bashemayim. Teilanu. Hayom. Nikin. Kikanu. Uslab. Ladu. Ashmatenu. Kashir. Suki. Manaknu. Lashir. Ashmu. Lanu. Wa'al. Tabinu. Lede. Masa. Ki. Hasolanu. Min. Bara. Ki. Laka. Amam Laka. Wa'agibora. Latifare. Lome. Ulami. So be it. Hallelujah. We got you beat, because you still have the phone. I just do it for a back. I don't need it. No, I just do it. It just wasn't.